is Madison Moon, and I'm back with another book video. Tonight I'm going to be showing you the recent reads. So, this is an ongoing series, so basically I would say like twice a season, I try to make a video of the recent reads, because I have to read enough books to fill a video. So I have, I think, 7 books here tonight. But yeah, I have some good ones and I'm really excited to talk about them. So let's dive in, shall we? So, number 1. This is the best book that I read in a long time. I even raved about it on Twitter. The Office of Historical Corrections by Danielle Evans. I've had this book probably on my shelf for over a year, and I didn't want to read it because, one, didn't think the cover was impressive, and I am a simple human being, okay? I like pretty things, and I'm intrigued to books based off of covers because I'm human, and I don't think I'm alone in that. Not alone in being human, but alone in being attracted to pretty things. So this cover just didn't do anything for me, and I couldn't even remember why I bought it. And also, it says it's a novella and short stories, and I was like, that does not sound interesting, because I was concerned that I wasn't going to be interested in the characters, because I didn't have enough time to develop a connection to characters because they're short stories. So, I've never been more wrong in my entire life. Everyone should read this, and I only have like one little tab here because there was a quote in the beginning of the book, not by the author, but I really liked this quote and I want to read it. It's by James Baldwin. We know, in the case of the person, that whoever cannot tell himself the truth about his past is trapped in it, is immobilized in the prison of his undiscovered self. This is also true of nations. We know how a person in such a paralysis is unable to assess either his weaknesses or his strengths, and how frequently, indeed, he mistakes one for the other. I just thought that was really interesting and very topical. So, anyway, this was so good. Blown away, and she only has 2 books out, and I promptly ordered the other one that apparently was written before this one, I think. But Danielle Evans writes in a way that captures like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very like niche things almost. How do I say this? Okay, I'm gonna backtrack here. So each story, for the most part, centers around a black person and their experience and kind of like these subtle microaggressions and just things that, as a white person, I would never experience. And it just blew me away. Her writing is absolutely brilliant, and each story was so poignant and just gut-punchy, and not in like a sad way or like an overtly like pitiful way or anything like that. Just truly good. Like, I just think the stories gave me chills. And the novella was super good too. The last story in the book is the novella. But just trust me, you have to read this book. It's so good. And I'm excited to read her other one because I believe it's also a series of short stories. But this author changed my view about short stories, honestly. Because, I mean, if they're all as good as she is, like, he's amazing. So, it's just, it kind of weaves in, like, race, culture, history, things like that. And it's just, and it's not, like, heavy on the race necessarily. It's just about being human and what unique experiences that is, for each person living on this planet. And it even kind of delves into like, kind of gray area issues. So it was very good, very topical. I'm obsessed with this book. It's so good. It is fiction. Each story is, this book was good. It was surprising. It was mysterious, and it was fantasy fiction. And it's about a girl who is, I guess she's an adult, so a woman who is in, like, it's a fictional world, so I don't really know what to call it, but basically in the military. But this world's version of the military, and people have magic, and she specializes in healing, and she is called to go to this, like, far away, kind of neutral, like a Switzerland-esque area, and she has to try to heal someone who's very sick. I always struggle to try not to give away too much. And so she's like the most talented healer, and this neutral country, I should note, does not have magic. They're like, people just do not have magic, but they are very technologically advanced. So, yeah, so she goes, and it ends up turning into like this mystery, and it's very good, kind of creepy, a little bit like gothic creepy. But I liked it. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I thought this one was going to be just another kind of forgettable fantasy novel, honestly. But it was actually pretty good. I can't remember what I rated this. Maybe a 3 or 4 out of 5. I liked it. I was intrigued by the mystery. Love a good mystery. You guys will be proud of me. I started taking dust jackets off when I'm reading books. I don't know how I lived my whole life just not taking dust jackets off and being super annoyed by them, but refusing to take them off. It's like an OCD thing, kind of. Like, I feel like they're ugly without them on. So I always would leave them on, even though they would drive me insane. So I've started taking them off and then putting them back on when I'm done reading the book. It's like a whole new world. I believe that Alison Saft is a new writer, and this is her first book, and it was pretty good for her first book, I would say. And I think she's pretty young too, so. Okay. Next is a non-fiction book called What Happened to You? Conversations on Trauma, Resilience, and Healing. And this is by Bruce D. Perry and Oprah Winfrey. As you can see, I have some bookmarked pages. Also, the texture of this book is so spectacular. It's got a nice matte cover, and hopefully that makes sense. I feel like people that have sensory stuff know what I mean by something feeling matte. So it has a matte dust jacket. It has a square book spine, which I just love. Oh, there's just something about it that I love. And the pages are a very unique, thick texture. I don't know, there's something about it. Also, since this is written by 2 people, I believe anytime Oprah's like talking, it's in blue. And then Bruce D. Perry, who is let me look up his qualifications, I forget. He's a child psychiatrist and neuroscientist, and he's been doing this like his entire life. He is in black. His writing's in black, but there's infographics, images in here to kind of like show you supporting. What do they call it? I don't know. images. Anyway, this book was really good. 5 out of 5 on this one. It was nice because it was written like they were having a conversation, but a very intellectual conversation, not one I would normally have with my friends, but it was really good. It was conversations about trauma, resilience, and healing, and so they kind of talked about, Bruce, who's the neuroscientist and child psychiatrist, talked about the impact that trauma has on children's brains, and all of the, basically we haven't really studied that stuff until until recently, basically. So learning about trauma is still very new, and saying that you're trauma informed is, it's a tough thing to say because it's still such a new area of study. So anyways, if you've experienced any form of trauma, I highly recommend you read this book. It's not a difficult read. Things are broken down in a digestible manner, and it's just good. I'm not going to talk about my life, but I experienced a fair amount of trauma as a child, and this was just a really eye-opening book because it broke down like the science of trauma, but also explained some things that I had personally were basically trauma responses for me, and I didn't realize that they were trauma responses, and it just really, I learned a lot about myself through this book. So I highly recommend this. It's very good. Also, if you love somebody that's gone through trauma, I recommend that you read this book. It's just extremely helpful and helps you to understand something that is extremely complex, and also help you figure out how to heal from that, because that's a hard thing to do. So super good. Also, just the texture of the book is just so nice. The letters are raised up a little bit. Okay. Next is a fan favorite. I finally read the 4th book in the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, The War of Two Queens. So, like I said, this is the 4th book. It just came out maybe, was it April? I think it was April. The 4th book in the Blood and Ash series. I've talked about this series before. It's fairly popular. I think it's on Book Talk a lot, so I won't delve into it too much, but I have some unpopular opinions that I'd like to share today. So the series, when I started the series, I loved it. It was like 5 out of 5. Like, I loved it. It is adult, so if you haven't read it yet, there's a lot of spicy content in there. I never know what I can and can't say on YouTube. So anyways, there's a lot of adult content in there. However, it is a fantasy fiction, and that's what drew me to it, honestly. Don't have a problem with spice. Love some spice. However, I started reading it because it was fantasy fiction, and the story's very cool. The world building is super cool, and it's the creatures and just like the politics, the landscape, everything. I loved it. But this last book, I don't know. I also expected it to be a trilogy, which I think it was originally planned to be a trilogy. And I would have been okay with that. And I feel like it's so over the top, like so over the top. And I know, I feel like, hey, people are gonna come for me probably for this, but it's so over the top. They're just obsessed with each other. Like the world is falling apart, and they're like, oh my god, she's so amazing. I'm so obsessed with her. I want to just eat her. Like it's so much. Like it's so much. It's unrealistic. Okay, nobody's that obsessed with each other, and I get it. It's fiction, whatever. But like 300 pages of this is just like them obsessing over each other and being like just so over the top. And I'm not going to delve into the spoiler because why would I do that? But there's like this thing that happens that kind of everybody's been waiting for or not waiting for, hoping would happen, whatever. I don't think it was handled well, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm okay that it happened. I like the added element of it, but I don't think it was confusing. It was, the way it was written was extremely confusing. So anyways, I don't know. It's just a little cheesy. The romance aspect is so over the top that it's cheesy, which makes some of the dialogue very cheesy. And it does feel like the writer is trying to like have an amount of spicy scenes in the book, like because she has to fill a quota or something, and they just seem unnecessary. Like I cannot imagine being in charge of like a war and being like, you know what sounds good right now? Like, I don't know, I'm not buying it. So, I don't know. It's good, and I'll probably finish the series because I don't like not finishing things. But I hope that Jennifer Armentrout reels it back a little bit on just the lovesick obsession, because it's too much. It's too much. I want to focus more on the story and the world building and all the elements and creatures and all that, because that's way more interesting to me. So yeah, I don't know. It was okay. I rated it 3 out of 5, and I kind of went back and forth between my rating because I just like, I'm loyal to the series, but at the same time, I'm a bit over it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit over it. This is too long. Also, for each book, it's way too long. So I don't know. I'm eager to hear your opinion. If you've read this story, this series, if you've read this series, or yeah, if you've read this last one, I'm very curious to know what other people think, because I'm not sure what I'm saying is popular. Because I know people like stan the main characters, and I'm just kind of over them a little bit. So yeah. Anyways, enough about that. Okay, this next book was recommended to me by one of you wonderful, amazing people. The Silent Ones by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. This was interesting. This was unique. I really liked this one. It was a pretty fast read too. But basically, also I will say it didn't end how I thought it was going to end. And the build-up was very good because it kept me guessing about what the real situation was that was going on. But not to give anything away. Basically, it's about a little girl and her father. And they live in a remote area of the woods, and they do not have contact with civilization besides this one like kind of faraway neighbor. And this one guy who comes and delivers their groceries and supplies and stuff like that like once a year. And so the father has raised the girl this way. I think she's like 10 now. So she's lived her whole life like this in complete isolation. And it's interesting. Like I said, it did not end how I thought it would, and I really liked it. It was a unique story. So there's definitely some, keeps you guessing, some mystery, and I like the way that the characters were written. I also, it sounds corny, but I'm a big fan of the outdoors, so I liked the setting. I thought it was very cool to like read about someone living in the woods and kind of what that's like. So also there were some moments of like pure like thrill, and my heart was pounding. I was like stressed out, so it was good. Fantasy, or not fantasy fiction, I'm sorry, just regular fiction. if you like a fast-paced kind of thriller that keeps you guessing, highly recommend this one. It's good. And thriller, not in a scary way. Thriller more so in just like a anxious way. That's not really selling it, but I think I rated this one a 4 out of 5. Pretty sure. I really liked it. It was good. Okay, next is a nonfiction book called Think Again by Adam Grant, and I feel like this just looks really cool. It's like this blue match. It's just super cool. I have a decent amount of flagged pages in here. So Adam Grant is a very interesting guy. I'm not even entirely sure what his title is either. It's hard to keep track of everyone. He's an organizational psychologist, that's right. I remember he had like a very interesting title. Side note, organizational psychologists make a ton of money. My husband got his degree in psychology, and he was talking about how like that's a very high paying profession. It's very interesting, but that's not relevant whatsoever. So anyways, this book is about, basically, how would I kind of summarize it? It's basically about how we should rethink things and how you can kind of have better conversations with people and get them to see your side of things and how you can see their side of things if we kind of rethink how we have those conversations. And so it's called Think Again, the power of knowing what you don't know. So instead of kind of feeling like you know everything about something, even if you're like an expert in something or have read a lot about a topic, there's always more to learn. And that should be inspiring us to have better conversations with people and get different sides of things. So it's a really good book, and I actually heard about this book from when I was reading that Brene Brown book, The Alice of the Heart. She quoted his book, this one, multiple times, and I thought that that's what got me to want to read it. But it's really good, and there was a lot of really valuable information in this, and it's one of those books that I really think everybody should read. I think it came out recently too, like during the pandemic, so it talks a bit about that and how that obviously affected the world and the conversations that we were having. And it was just really, really good. It kind of talked about how we like let our emotions like drive our arguments, and it was very spot on, very topical, very relevant, and once again very digestible. If I find that a book is too over my head, I do not finish it. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm not a genius by any means, and sometimes books are written in a very dense manner, and that doesn't interest me. So, but anyways, this is super good, and I highly recommend it. It's definitely a fantastic 5 out of 5 nonfiction book. Also, if you're interested in psychology, you will find this book interesting. I mean, I feel like I bookmarked a decent amount of pages here. And Brene Brown and Adam Grant, I believe, are fairly good friends and do a lot of things together professionally, and love her. So, yeah, I've been reading a lot more nonfiction lately, and conversations to just admit when I don't know something, because I think we all struggle with this sense of like, if we admit that we don't know something, people are going to think we're stupid, and that's not the case at all. If you're willing to admit that you don't know everything about something, or you're, you know a decent amount about a topic, but maybe one area of that topic of your knowledge is lacking, that's okay to admit that, and it opens yourself up to have conversations and actually learn more about that area that you're lacking. And so I've been better about saying in conversations, I don't really know, or this is what I know, but I'm not sure about that thing, or I haven't done my research on that thing. I think it's just so much better to be honest about that, instead of like, I'm terrified of like Dunning-Kruger syndrome, or whatever it's called. So I never want to think I'm like smart, because that probably means I'm actually very stupid. But yeah, highly recommend this book. Okay, next is a fun one. So as you may or may not know, I started reading my very first manga series, which was Beastars. And I just finished the most recent one. Very good. There's 18 of them out. I believe it's going to be a 21 book series. This one just came out last month, and I finished it yesterday, and it's fun. I like it. Beastars is basically about an anthropomorphic world where animals basically have the roles of humans, so it doesn't seem like there's humans at all. 18 books, I've yet to see a human, so don't think they're coming. But so basically it just deals with a lot of like complex issues between carnivores and herbivores and how to live in a society. I will say the one thing I don't like about this series, I do not like, and am actually disturbed by, God, what is his name? Oh, Legoshi's relationship with Haru. I don't like the emphasis on like how small and fragile she is, because Legoshi's a wolf and Haru is a rabbit. And I don't know, it weirds me out. It really weirds me out, and I don't know. I want to know if I'm not alone about this. Please, for the love of God. I've like looked online about this, if like their relationship makes anybody else uncomfortable. It freaks me out. I don't know. I'm like envisioning like a scene in particular too, that like, I don't want to spoil anything, but the rest of the series is super good, but I like force myself through anything that has to do with them, because I don't know, it's just disgusting to me. And maybe I'm looking at it wrong, so I am open to changing my mind about their relationship. It just like the way it's described, I think, and just the emphasis that's put on how like small and petite and fragile she is, like, and how he doesn't fit. I don't know, man, there's something that's just off. It rubs me the wrong way. So I don't know, there's something a little creepy about it, but overall I like the series, and I'll finish it for sure. And I'd like to watch the anime. And I just really like anything that has to do with animals, so I did really want to read this. But Legoshi's also so adorable, and Jack, I'm obsessed with Jack. He's so sweet. There's some cute little like side stories in this book too that I do like. Okay, I'm ending this video in the hopes that you're asleep with a book I did not like, and it's a very popular book. It's a fiction. It's called Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. Okay, before I get into my opinions about it, this is a book about a journalist who interviews, and this is all fictional, who interviews a very, very famous, like, A-list she spends time with him. And that's basically all you need to know. Now I'm gonna explain why I did not like it. Number one, it was written like a fan fiction, and it was so corny. I could not get past the way, and like I get it, like it's written in the way of like if a normal person met their like dream celebrity, how they would act and their internal monologue. I get that, okay? I'm not hating on that. I'm sure I would geek out if I met like, who am I obsessed with? Oh, I love Jeff Goldblum. But anyways, I'm sure there are people I would meet that I would probably geek out and have a weird internal monologue about. But it was just, I swear to God, if you've ever written any type of fan fiction, that's exactly how this book was, and it was just published in a book, I swear. And that's just not for me. I don't like fan fiction. It was just so corny. I could not get past it. I was just like, are we serious? And like the jokes were very like, just, I don't know, like old, like 2000s jokes. I don't know. I also found out I wanted to know if there was anybody else that didn't like this book. I always need people to validate my bad book opinions. Apparently, the author, there was like an actual story, and I think it was on like a Vogue or Glamour or something, I don't know. But this was like a real situation where like a journalist interviewed like this top tier celebrity. They ended up spending this weekend together, and it got her very famous, and it was like a real thing that happened. And basically this author copied that kind of like story, like play by play, and never gave that person credit, and never said that she modeled this story off of that real thing that happened in real life. You can look it up. So I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. There's not much for me to say more than that. It's written like a fan fiction. If you like fan fiction, you'll probably like this book. It's just not for me. I don't like fan fiction, and I don't understand gushing over somebody. I don't know. It was just, it was like a cheap rom-com with very subpar comedy, in my opinion. So, I don't know. I really thought I was gonna like this book. I read it on the way to Disney World, and I had wished I had brought another book. I did finish it, but I don't know. I just also, they made her so unappealing that like, I don't understand why why he ends up liking her. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. The math ain't mathin', you know what I'm saying? So, just too unrealistic for fiction. So I don't know, once again, if you've read this book, I'm curious to know about your opinions too. I didn't really feel like a lot of people felt, besides people having a bone to pick with the author about basically stealing the story, I didn't really see anyone like actually be upset about how the story was written. Also, there's a lot of like random unnecessary like excerpts from other magazines and stuff like within the story. It's kind of hard to explain, but just unnecessary. I don't know. I didn't buy it.